India's 23-year-old braveheart passes away.
It was the scale of her injuries which proved too much for the medical treatment which was provided to her.
Her battle against life ends, but her spirit lives on.
The passing away of this brave girl comes as a truly and terribly sad news.
Headlines Today pays tribute to India's daughter, the undying spirit. Continuing coverage on Headlines Today.
This is the TV Today Network, and you are watching Headlines Today.
The undying spirit of the brave girl continues to lift the nation. It has brought and united the nation in grief, and also has forced the nation tonight to ask questions of our legislators. Over the last 1 hour, we've been going across to several protesters across the length and breadth of this country to get a sense of what they expect from our apathetic administrators, in the hope that their voices break down the walls that stand between us and those that rule us from Delhi's pristine Lutyens zone. Now we're going to put some of those questions that have been raised by our protesters to some of the experts and politicians. Let me first, on an agenda for change, begin by asking direct questions of Brinda Karat, left leader, women's activist, member of the CPM Politburo, long-standing parliamentarian. Thanks indeed for joining us. Ms. Karat, what must be done to ensure that the death of the braveheart doesn't go in vain? India is asking that question of its parliamentarians, and you are one of those who has stood time and again up for the rights of women, but somehow or the other, your colleagues have let women down.
At least in the particular case, there has to be accountability. And why I say this is because we have been working for so many years towards a security grid to prevent crime against women in the country and in this city. And this grid is made up of several small steps, as for example, security in public buses, no tinted windows, license checking, monitoring of the driver, the conductor and employees, monitoring of the bus owners. Now these may appear to be small steps, but the absence of these steps can lead to such horrific incidents as we have seen. And therefore I believe the accountability which has to be identified, pinpointed and acted upon on those officials who have not implemented security measures which they were mandated to do in Delhi and other cities. That is the very first thing I believe that we need to do after this terrible, terrible tragedy.
Well, that's a practical suggestion. A lot of people are looking at the long-term picture without realizing that perhaps that is such a distant promise that it may never be realized. Like, for instance, the Women Reservation Bill and the several other pending legislations in Parliament. So let's start small, says Brinda Karat. Kiran Bedi, do you believe that our parliamentarians have the sensitivity to actually go ahead and implement even the administrative changes that are required to secure women in this country?
I first of all wish to endorse what Brinda Karat had said. She is absolutely right. It's called the broken window theory. If you continue to check the broken windows theory, and continue to check minor crimes, major get taken care of. So we need to understand that crime prevention of this kind, what Brinda Karat has said, is absolutely needed. Second aspect, and I'm going to come to your question right away, is accountability, which I want to just expand a bit. That she's asked, I'm only clarifying it further, that what you need is an independent social audit of police performance, like you need it even for government departments. I can't expand that, But let's look at police performance. Who audits police performance? Nobody. They themselves hold a crime review meeting end of the year and compare it statistically only, when the rest of the city says, we don't even trust you. You are giving us figures which say the crime shows control, but in my mind, I don't even have the trust to come to the police. So we have a trust deficit. There is no independent performance audit of policing on crime prevention, detection, training and other measures. We need to bring in a methodology where we bring in non-partisan experts to do annual performance appraisal of state police forces, which are annually declared publicly, which carry public perception, so that the police is afraid, other than a politician, people are going to judge us and the experts are going to judge us, and that is our image and reputation. And they could also suggest measures which need to be done. So this is very vital if you're looking for a long-term measure.
Yes, but Ms. Bedi, you made an interesting comment. You said that the police is also sensitive to the fact that other than politicians, they're also going to be judged by the public. But today, unfortunately, and let's be honest, you've been a long-standing police officer who has shown uprightness in your tenure in office. Many police officers cannot stand up the way you did to authority. Many politicians today use the police as instruments to push their own interests. And the entire system is so configured that the police have actually lost their authority. Isn't that a fact? It goes back to our representatives, unfortunately.
So therefore, Rahul, the answer is do not leave it to the individual, because there will always be individual differences in something called nirbhay, something called courage. There will be differences. So why leave it to individual differences? Why not insulate the police from political interference? And that takes you to the implementation of Supreme Court judgment of 2006. Now the onus is, no state police forces have truly implemented in letter and spirit the judgment of the Supreme Court. In fact, it's the Supreme Court also which should be holding them accountable. Call the Chief Minister and DGPs to find out why they haven't implemented it.
That proves the point.
The onus again.
That proves the point, because who should implement all of this? Who should implement the police reforms which are gathering dust in front of various standing committees of Parliament for the last 25 years, Ms. Bedi? Isn't this a fact that the political class is so sowed, in fact, to its own agenda that it can't break free of its own self-interest and liberate the police to do the job they're supposed to do?
Rahul, the politician easily will not. Why are they not looking for fast, expeditious justice? Because 168 of them who are facing criminal charges and under investigations will get speedily tried and may be convicted. So they will not get re-ticketed again. So if you leave it to political class again, 64 years has not given you this. Therefore, the onus lies back on the Supreme Court to get its own judgment implemented through two levels. Who are accountable? The Chief Secretary and the Director General of Police. Once these two people are given a show cause notice to appear before the court to show cause why this hasn't been implemented, along with social audit, you will see a compelling change.
Okay.
You have to compel the change. You will not have the politician easily giving it. And the third point, before you let me close, is I think this is a day to be nirbhay. We need to go back to a nirbhay. It's coming back to courage. This should be treated as a nirbhay divas, which means fearless day. And I've been saying, main bhi nirbhay, tu bhi nirbhay, ab to sara desh hai nirbhay. We need to come to this nirbhay because the woman is afraid, the policeman is afraid, we are all afraid of things. I think the only person who's courageous is a woman molester. The person who are the so-called victims are all afraid because we are afraid we become victims. I think the mother should embolden and make the daughter courageous. The woman should have the courage to go to the police.
Okay.
The police should have the courage to record the complaint, and the judge should have the courage to give no bails. I think we need to do an infusion of courage and declare this as a nirbhay day.
Okay, well that begins with the individual, doesn't it, at some level? It begins with people asking themselves the right questions. Kiran Bedi, We're going to be spending the next 40 minutes or so looking at other facets because we really want to get to the meat of the issue today. We don't want to lose this opportunity in coming up with something constructive. And I'm going to bring in Ranjana Kumari, who's a women's activist, of course, and also has been a member of the NCW. Ms. Ranjana Kumari, Kiran Bedi, and also in a different context, Brinda Karat, made the point of fixing accountability. Women's organizations such as yourself, activists such as yourself, have been accused of in the past not doing enough, pursuing cases, especially the NCW, which is thought to be an organization which might have been set up, to protect the interests of women, but doesn't have the teeth to push through the agenda, and worse, has never really come out and demanded a right of the political class.
Rahul, it is a very sad day and we are very saddened today, and our whole heart goes to the family who has lost a daughter. Rahul, and also just a clarification, I have never been member of National Commission for Women.
I'm sorry about that.
I'm happy that I did not accept.
Yes.
I'm really happy that I did not accept that responsibility, because I know what it is today. These commissions and these institutions have been reduced to absolutely marginal, and they are not able to play the kind of role that we envisage that these commissions will play. Anyway, having said that, I think you are, on your channel only we have discussed many times, and you yourself have brought these issues up so many times, but and also nobody in the nation can blame women and women's organizations for not pursuing it. It is the Crisis Intervention Center. If anybody, just two organizations in Delhi, having still the courage to run it in spite of the fact that Delhi Commission for Women, Delhi government did not even have a smallest possible resources to support the women who go all the way any time of the day or night when there is a rape happens for counseling and other kind of support. So, systems have failed us. This girl had to lose her life because the systems have failed us.
Okay.
This is totally responsibility, and I agree with Brinda and Kiranji that accountability will have to be established. Let them call the session of the parliament for one day. Rahul, it's been 7 decades, almost going to be 7 decades of independence.
I'm going to go back to Brinda Karat.
Nation not pay attention to one day to discuss what is happening to women, why crime is
I'm going to go back to Brinda Karat.
What kind of laws we should, yes.
Yes, so Ranjana Kumari, stay on with us, because I'm going to go back to Brinda Karat, but before that, let me take on a caller, because we're also inviting the public to participate, so we can discuss some of the issues they raise. Maitri calling in from Chennai. Go ahead, Maitri.
Yes. Sir, I would like to say that her death should not go in vain, the Braveheart's death should not go in vain, so we should see to it that the perpetrators of this crime should be, get the same type of end that she met, like they should also be tortured the same way that she was tortured. And this should be telecast on the channel so that any person who wants to commit this crime or whoever thinks about such a thing in his head, that it will prevent him from committing this crime.
Well, many people have called in, obviously swept away by emotion, wanting capital punishment or some worse possible punishment for some of these perpetrators. We're going to look at that with K.T. S. Tulsi, who's a leading senior advocate of the Supreme Court. We're going to go across to him in just a few seconds. Sarang joining us from Ahmedabad. Sarang, go ahead.
Hi, Rahul, this is Sarang, and I'm calling from Hyderabad. This is obviously, we're going through such a heartbreaking story right now, and thanks actually for connecting call. I wanted to bring a new dimension to this. We're all talking about how do we react to this from a government or administrative standpoint. Yes, agree that we need to do it, but there's a far more at a human level we need to look at as a society. This is something totally not new, right? This has been happening. Now this angel who just passed away, she just struck that chord in each one of us, and we are talking now. Now what are we doing as a society that the kind of consumerism, the kind of entertainment, you see Munni Badnaam and all this crap, right? Now we are indirectly feeding into this kind of macho kind of thing, and there's two Indias, one, the educated class, middle class who are working, and the
the commoditization of women, the stereotypification of women. Yes, it's an important point you raised. It's a very, very important point you raised, and I'm going to raise them with some of our panelists. Let me bring in KTS Tulsi. KTS Tulsi, I just want to draw your attention. Over the last 1 hour or so, we've had many callers calling in saying that we need the death penalty. Some have even gone to the extent of suggesting that these individuals should be thrown before a lynch mob. Obviously, that's the one extreme end of the spectrum. But the demand for a capital punishment, in your view, is that a demand that should be looked at closely by the government, or is it too complicated a dimension to get into? And are there enough laws on the books to actually prosecute rapists and bring them to account?
No, I think that in this case, the offense is so barbaric, it is so brutal, and there are no extenuating circumstances at all whatsoever. And if it is established that this is the manner in which the innocent girl was brutalized,
yes,
there will be no other sentence which will be adequate except death sentence. It's all a question of the scientific evidence.
So are you saying one should apply it across the board in all cases, because who's going to sit in judgment and decide which requires the death penalty and which doesn't, because you're going to have subjectivity there, aren't you?
No, it will always be the judge. There is no other way. It is not that you can make a death sentence compulsory. It will be unconstitutional. It's just a function of the judiciary. It will be performed by the judiciary. All that I want to say is that in this case, the death of this young girl who has woken up the conscience of the whole country will do well for us, not only to do justice in this case, but also 93 other rape cases which are pending in the courts in the country, and they are pending for years. Some of them are pending for decades.
Yes.
Now those cases were as gruesome.
No, that is indeed
any rape.
Yes. That is indeed the point. The point
what I am saying is
there is no expeditious justice. Kiran Bedi, let me bring you in here because you are someone who's worked very closely within the system. In different contexts, we've had cases which have absolutely shocked the nation in its brutality. But we've had no outcome in some of those cases. The conviction rates are in the low 20s in this country. Will having a death penalty across the board actually complicate matters, make it more difficult to adjudicate?
Rahul, I would also further like to make a very radical suggestion. I think just as I'm asking for police accountability and a social audit of the police, I want a similar audit court-wise. As a citizen of this country, I require every court also performance to be socially audited. What is pending with it, and what kind of speed it follows, what kind of resources it has, and what kind of judgments it delivers. And this could be a socially audit. It is of experts and independent people, could be academics. It's very, very vital. These are closed institutions which are absolutely not accessible, and we are accepting them as they are. Look, even the government is not accountable for fulfilling 33% of the vacancies which exist in the judiciary. Whereas the judiciary is commenting on all others, judiciary itself is a very closed institution.
But Ms. Bedi, these audits,
even having a right.
These audits
just wait a minute.
Could drag on for years.
Let me share an information with you. The information is that we heard from the Ministry of Justice.
Yes.
So we heard from Ministry of Justice, Rahul, that we have only 13 judges vis-a-vis 1 million population of the country. Now this is the state of affairs, and that is why millions of cases are pending, and cases as gruesome as this one which has happened got justice. You remember that
I understand that, but let me just go back to Kiran Bedi. I'm just coming back to you because we're slightly diverting from the point.
This is the state of affairs. No, I'm just supporting her point.
No, I understand that. I understand you're supporting a point, but we're going in a slightly tangential direction. Let me just go back to Kiran Bedi and we'll pick up the thread of that conversation. Mr. KTS Tulsi had come out and suggested that the death penalty would perhaps, Ms. Bedi, be the solution. It would work as a deterrent. Here you have cases that have dragged on through the system, and you have existing laws, but nothing has come to fruition. Are we going to see the death penalty becoming more of an obstacle in the delivery of justice? That's the principal question.
It is important to have it on the statute book, but the judge, I agree with Mr. Tulsi, it is the discretion of the judge to evaluate the kind of evidence that it has. If it wants to take it to the rarest of the rare, it could. Otherwise, life imprisonment, I'm telling you, is tougher than death penalty for a prisoner. Having run a prison, person sentenced to life imprisonment, and that to rigorous imprisonment, you know, you're making him a cook all his life.
Okay, very interestingly.
In the summer, cooking for 10,000 prisoners, the whole summer, whole life.
Okay, very interestingly, we are getting a caller. You know, Ms. Bedi, we are getting a caller from San Diego in the United States, where the death penalty is handed out. Anthony calling. Anthony, go ahead.
Well, I'm Anthony from Pune. Santiago is my surname.
Right.
Well, actually, we can put up this day and remember her every year as Nirbhaya Jayanti, you know.
Yes, that's what Ms. Kiran Bedi had suggested. I'm sorry I got your location wrong, because we were told that you were calling from San Diego. I think on the phone it was difficult to pick out your surname. Well, yes, that's true. That, of course, is symbolic. We're looking here, Anthony, for solutions which can make life better, the quality of life better, and restore dignity to women in society. Let me come back to you, Kiran Bedi, because you were making an important point there. You were talking about auditing, which is the second point that you were making, auditing of the way our courts function. Many people have said that these audits will not provide justice, will not also make life in the immediate better for women. How do you respond to that?
Look, please understand, this is going to be a deterrent, because unless you're audited, what are you scared of? You are never audited. It's all in-house. My police commissioner audits me, and the home minister audits the police commissioner, and they're all in it together.
Yes.
Unless you have an external sunshine. Sunshine is the biggest disinfectant. Let's understand that. Let's bring sunshine into our departments, whether it's criminal and in the criminal justice system. It's one of the most closed closet whether it's the courts and whether it's the police. And at one day we will have to bring this kind of social audit, and we got a lot of expertise. You got women like Ranjana Kumari, you got experts like KTS Tulsi. These are experts we got so many more. I think these bodies can be formed independently, combining judiciary, people, academics, activists, and they could look at this and present an annual plan, annual report, just as CAG did it for Government of India. Just as CAG is the only deterrent for accounts, we could have this social audit for these kind of closed institutions, which includes the court performances.
Okay, will it actually make a difference? Are we just adding another layer, KTS Tulsi? Are we just adding another layer, or is it actually going to make the difference that Ms. Bedi proclaims it will?
No, I 100% agree with Kiran Bedi. This is, the performance audit should not only be made, I suggest that it should be put on the website. It should be on the website. How many cases are decided by a judge in a particular month? It should be on the website how many judgments were reversed. It should also be on the website how many judgments were confirmed. Now, transparency in the functioning of judiciary will tremendously improve the efficiency. And like she says, sunshine is the biggest disinfectant. Why should judiciary not be transparent when judiciary has advocated transparency for every other institution?
Okay, we're getting somewhere.
All other administrative activities.
We're getting somewhere. One very positive suggestion coming out of all of this. Perhaps our administrators and representatives should consider this. Coming out on the headlines today, performance audit to pressure the judiciary and other institutions so that they're accountable. Well, fixing accountability is very important, but where do we begin? Ms. Kiran Bedi has come out with a very practical suggestion which has been recognized as such by other panelists. Let me come back to you, Brinda Karat, you've been listening in. Where do we begin fixing this accountability? women have been let down at different levels. You're a parliamentarian, you've seen your own colleagues, certain individuals in various political parties not wanting to empower women by passing legislation. Should it begin from there, or should it begin as when you began by saying from the constable, beat constable level upwards?
You are absolutely correct. The first level is, as I said, the officials who are mandated to implement the law and who are not doing it, which makes rape the fastest growing crime in this country with the lowest conviction rate. Secondly, apart from the government, most definitely political parties must, at least in Parliament to begin with, establish a code of conduct about their own statements about women, the way they speak about women. These tend to send an extremely wrong message which trivialize political debate and make it really sexist and derogatory.
Yes.
And also, statements by leading politicians which we have seen, such as statements which tend to reflect patriarchal notions about what a woman's so-called traditional role should be.
Yes.
And this is the whole point. The young women today are asserting themselves. They are asserting themselves and reclaiming
Yes.
public space.
Yes.
And they're saying we have as much right as you to be there, whatever time of the day or the night and whatever the place is.
Yes.
And therefore, stepping across the boundaries which are set up for them with patriarchal notions, they must have the environment in which they can exercise that right. And I believe political parties and leaders who speak on women's issues
Yes.
must always keep that in mind, the independent woman citizen, and not always see women as being dependent
Yes, but how
on
many-
men and therefore appendages of men, and therefore only to be defended if they are good appendages of men. I mean, this is something which is intolerable.
Absolutely, the unexceptionable opinion there from Brinda Karat. I'm going to explore that with Kiran Bedi as well as our other participants. There's a caller calling in, Vinay from Delhi. Go ahead, Vinay, with your view.
My view is that the worst villains in India are the police force, and they are the one institution which has the largest public interface. There are bureaucrats who will be bad, but we don't have an interface with them. The politicians, good or bad, they are elected and be thrown out every 5 years. The police harasses every individual unless you are powerful.
Yes.
You ask a typical driver, a plumber, a worker, he is scared of anything. And add to that the horror thing. Now, one thing I have been trying to get out to the police is to say, okay, all these horrible buses which are operating, you know, the driver smoking
Right.
in a CNG-driven bus, a driver smoking at a CNG outlet. Now, if a man with such a bus is operating, he is likely to be indulging in all kinds of crimes. So
I get the drift of what you're trying to suggest. You're saying that reforms must begin at the constabulary level. The police, venal, lost the trust of the people. We need reforms. That's the point that Kiran Bedi began by making on this particular show. But let me come back to the point that Brinda Karat had made, Ranjana Kumari, before I go across to Kiran Bedi. The point is that several leaders have spoken over the last few days tragically, and they have made the grossest sexist comments, and they seem to have got away. Has the time come, Ms. Ranjana Kumari, for a no tolerance, a zero tolerance attitude towards this sort of entrenched sexism? Should some of these politicians have been sacked by their parties?
Absolutely. I think that is the beginning. That is how they should start. I think zero tolerance should be a norm. This was established by women's groups. We have always reacted to these kind of statements. Now society is reacting. Now young people are reacting. I think this is the time. This is the time that parties must caution themselves. Look at the way they ignore women's issues. Not only that, all the demands of women's movement, all the changes in the laws, all the women reservation bills, so many things are pending in the parliament, and besides passing all of them, paying attention to all of them, they come out and talk these kind of loose, lewd insulting language that they do, that means they don't care. That's what simply the communication from the leadership. I don't even want to call the leadership, I want to call the politicians who are present in the parliament.
Yes.
They just do not feel responsible enough towards respect towards women, dignity of women.
We have the spectre.
Absolutely. Yes.
We have the spectre of some of these.
So let me complete, Rahul. Just Speaker of the House Meera Kumar should come up with a code of conduct. Any parliament member making such lewd, insulting remark has to apologize inside the parliament on the first day of the parliament.
Okay.
All the 5-6 members who have made all these remarks, and the political parties must take their membership,
Kiran Bedi,
thrown out of the political parties because they are irresponsible.
Kiran Bedi, before I go across to KTS Tulsi, Kiran Bedi, is it possible that this entrenched sexism is responsible for these crimes against women, or are we once again trying to address the symptoms without actually addressing the disease? As some callers have suggested, it's the lack of deterrence. You say it's the lack of accountability. The rest doesn't really matter because everything will fall into place.
What I notice is the external environment, the kind of environment we've created, which the manner in which the woman is always presented, whether it's selling a product, whether it's selling whatever it is selling, whether it's through media, whether it's through films, whether it's through advertisements. I don't know. I've rarely seen a woman emerging as an equal, a woman being presented as somebody who has a space of her own and a dignity of her own. She's either always dependent or she's always having a price. And it's always the attraction, it's always the looks rather than the inherent qualities. I think this is the message which has been given. I tweeted 2 days ago that when I was small and I was seeing the movies of the 60s where a woman was always being teased, harassed, and she fell in love after being teased and she was crying and pining. Every time I saw the movie, I resolved, this is what I'm going to reject. This is not acceptable. I'm going to reject this because this is not what I will be. I think it changed a lot. Over the years, the manner of presentation has totally changed. Now the entertainment is almost like as if you're literally always on the swimming pool side. I feel very embarrassed looking at that myself. It's pretty tough. Now people may have to say that they have their own rights to present, but I must tell you, research shows that this has an impact on certain kind of vulnerable minds, and when they get mixed up with alcohol, things are totally different. Now we need to research this. I don't want to pass a judgment, but do we have a research? Do we have a research to establish this? I do not know. I want to encourage research even in this to make the impact of such visualization objective. I think we need that urgently because we're looking at vulnerable impressionistic minds. What is happening to because violence, when a child sees too much of violence, child also becomes violent. Toy guns, most of the time. In fact, in India, the child has toy guns. In America, the boy has actual guns. And see the hazards which it is creating.
Many people say there's a thin line because the moment you start evolving strict moral codes and start treating people as those that cannot make the right choices for themselves on the basis of what they see on television, etc., on society, then you begin to shepherd them. You begin to almost behave in a big brotherly fashion. It's an important suggestion that has been made. Very important.
No. I'm talking about responsibility. Okay. I think everything you do, look at it again as a responsible citizen. I think there's something called social responsibility in all that you do. I'm not preaching, I'm not moralizing, I'm not making theological. I'm saying let's look at everything as an impact. What kind of responsible impact it could have.
Very important point. Is it possible, Mr. KTS Tulsi, in your long-serving legal experience, to evolve a moral code which could be enacted, even applied to our parliamentarians, as Ms. Ranjana Kumari has suggested and as Ms. Kiran Bedi seems to be implying? Is it possible legally to come up with something without falling foul of existing right laws, etc., etc.?
No. I don't think any problem is solved only by enacting a law. The present law also says that all rape cases should be decided within 2 months. So Parliament thinks that it has enacted a law and therefore it has done its job. The question is of enforcement of the laws. Okay, and the enforcement of the laws is to be done by the police. It is to be, adjudication is to be done, prosecution is to be done by the prosecutor, adjudication is to be done by the judges, and if they don't do it, if in spite of the legislative mandate that you must decide the cases within 2 months, they continue for 10 years, of what use is that law? Of what use will be that code of conduct? But I would like to tell you one thing. My mother, in 1933, as a 17-year-old student of Career College in Lahore,
yes,
wrote a poem at that age, which is more feminist than even the feminists of today.
Right.
And she questioned at the age of 17 कि कौन कहता है कि नारी पुरुष दी है जायदाद, पांडवां ने जुए हारी बोली ना वो कुछ विचारी इसलिए है जायदाद, कौन कहता है इस उत्ते कदे ना इतबार है, पुछे मैं वारिस शाह नूं तेनू कहंदा की अधिकार है, कौन कहता है इस नूं के ताड़ना ही ठीक है, क्योंकि तुलसीदास दा कहना पत्थर ते लीक है.
Right.
It's a question of values. It's the politicians which must connect with the people and instill the right values.
Okay, on that point.
Everything doesn't happen by legislation.
On that point, and a point that also Ms. Kiran Bedi had referred to little obliquely, but we want to focus on it. Ms. Bedi, you were talking about sensitization, changing of the patriarchal mindset. We had with us just about half an hour back in our studios a victim of an acid attack, tragic acid attack, who told us how the system had shut its doors on us. The police didn't take her seriously. They didn't actually press charges against the person who was accused in this particular case, and no justice has been done. Several callers tonight have been telling us that it is so difficult to approach the police, and therefore I want to ask you whether it would be feasible to break down the barrier at the very entry level, at the level of filing complaints, by evolving an online registration system. Is that possible? Because if we're looking at solutions, let's talk solutions which can be implemented.
Let me tell you, this is exactly the transparency I'm talking about.
Yes.
Let me explain to you what I did as IG Chandigarh. IG Chandigarh, I opened women's control room centers and I had it manned by NGOs, women NGOs. You run the centers, my cops will sit next to you. Let the NGOs hear what you have to say. Look at that. Why can't we have this partnership? NGOs today are wanting to work with the police, but it is the police sometimes, because it wants to be monopolistic, keeps them away. Since I was inclusive in my approach, I invited the NGOs, and believe me, when we started to work together at the control room centers, there was no more tu maine. It is now we. It's not you and me. It is we the people, you in the community, I the one in uniform, you without the uniform, running and manning control room centers together for all women cell. Believe me, the complaints fell because now the response was also in the hands of joint patrolling. It was in the hands of both police and the community. It's now brought people and police together, whereas now the culprit was isolated. This is what we can do all over the country.
Okay, we have a caller.
It needs only transparency.
Okay, transparency is being stressed on the show. Our caller calling in, Jyoti Kumar, go ahead. Stressed on the show. Our caller calling in, Jyoti Kumar, go ahead.
Immediately, hello.
Yes, you have to turn down the audio of your video set, sir, your TV screen.
The fast and strong enforcement of law, even for ill-teasing.
Right. Enforce the law.
Police reforms required, not only ill-teasing. It is unfortunate that we have inhuman, impotent and heartless politicians.
Okay, let's open up this to our panel. Many people today who have called in and said enforce the law. We are joined now by Soli Sorabji, eminent jurist. Thanks indeed, Mr. Sorabji, for joining us on the show. We have with us Kiran Bedi, we have with us Ranjana Kumari, Mr. KTS Tulsi and Brinda Karat, and we've been discussing solutions, substantive solutions that can make a difference. And I'm going to go across to Ranjana Kumari after I take you on. with a question. What do you believe should be done to ensure that the death of this brave heart doesn't go in vain? Mr. Sorabji, what should be that intervention in your words?
Well, there are two things.
Okay.
The immediate objective should be to bring the culprits to book as quickly as possible. In other words, the trial should start within 2 weeks.
Okay.
There should be a day-to-day trial without interruption, and it must finish within 3 months, followed by stringent punishment. That is the first thing, the first immediate objective which must be done, because a crime of this nature cannot go unpunished for a long time.
Okay.
There's no use punishing it after 6 and 7 years. Immediate. That will send the message. That will send the lesson to potential rapists.
But you'll have to create the infrastructure.
The second,
you'll have to create the infrastructure
of our people. Unfortunately, I find even among the so-called educated college students and others, a mentality that crimes against women are not very important to be seriously dealt with.
Right.
Eve teasing, kya hoga, eve teasing kya ho? What happens if a woman is molested in a bus? That mindset must go.
Yeah, we've got.
You see, people must be made to realize.
We've got a high official who just said, yes, that it's okay.
Which impairs.
No, we've got a high official in the NCW who said that it's okay if women are called sexy. Let me just quickly come to you, Ms. Ranjana Kumari. The point that has been made by Mr. Soli Sorabji is an apt one. However, many times the police and other investigative agencies said that it's simply too little time to gather evidence. This is a large country. It's so difficult. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the wherewithal. Is that a practicable suggestion? Fast track cases within 3 months, etc.
Absolutely, I endorse Sorabji's suggestion, because this is what is the cry of today. All the young people who were on the road have made a resolution that we want justice within 100 days. That is 3 months. That's what he's suggesting. I think that has to be coming in at all costs, whatever it takes for the police to submit its report, whatever it takes for the government to set the fast track system. For this case, let's not lose sight of. Today we are so angry, we are so upset, we are saying so many things and suggestions are coming forward because today this girl has died, so we cannot just lose sight of this case. In 100 days the judgment has to come, and that is not to say that all the pending cases in the court, and just now KTS Tulsiji said that 93,000 cases are pending. There are 40,000 cases according to our own study that we have done, the research that we have done, are pending in different levels of the court in the country. Every single case of crime against women has to go through a fast track system.
Okay.
How the government will create that system? They have to put the resources in, they have to put the courts will have to show their willingness to create those systems. Lawyers have to agree to have those systems.
Is this too big a task?
There is no shortcut.
Is this too big a task to be delivered?
It is a big task.
Yes, but is it too big a task?
Enough. I mean, till date we are sending our.
Okay, let me quickly come to you, Ms. Bedi.
They have to do it.
They have to do it indeed. They have to do it, and no one for even a moment is suggesting here, Ms. Kumari, that they shouldn't. But the point is that the government has already come out and said in its defense that, look, there are some suggestions which can be implemented now, but there are several others that require grave amount of thinking. We had Rahul Gandhi saying that, we don't want to make a mistake in trying to correct a situation that we're going to regret at leisure. Ms. Bedi, that is also an attitude that seems to be an obstacle, isn't it?
I think government now is waiting for Justice Verma Commission to make its recommendations. I think they have put it all on Justice Verma Commission. But I'm wondering, why have they made it two? Why Justice Verma separately and Mrs. Justice Usha Mehra separately? Why have they separated the two? One is a commission, the other is an inquiry. Why have you separated the two? I don't think people have got this separation spirit right. Why could they not combine it? So that we look at what are the crime prevention measures which were broken, what is went wrong in the law and order response, the politicians' response, the police response, the crime prevention response, the community policing, and also the crime prevention, the overall what should be done, whether on primary prevention, or whether it's social crime prevention or primary police crime prevention. I think why have they separated the two? I think government will only wait for Mr. Justice Verma's commission. But I want to ask through your channel, I don't understand why have they separated the two? Why should they not work together so that they don't overlap? And why should one be a commission and the other not other an inquiry? Because the senior lapses which have happened in the management in the handling of the last 10 days of law and order.
Absolutely, it's a very, very valid
point. This is a preventable crime. And this was a preventable crime.
Absolutely. I totally endorse it.
Absolutely. No, there's unexceptional, once again, questioning there, but unfortunately, our legislators are in no mood to respond, and that really is the fact. You know, there is either a patriarchal mindset that exists which denies the problem at hand, and let me bring in Vrinda Karat. You know, are we so self-convinced? Mr. Soli Sorabji made the second point, and he said, look, at some levels we are so blind to women's issues that forget about addressing them at an administrative level or with any amount of objectivity. We can't even bring ourselves to accept these problems, Ms. Karat, and that's really where the problem is. These questions will go unanswered.
Well, I can tell you that's a very, very, that's an ongoing and sustained agenda, and you can't wait for justice until, men change patriarchal mindsets. And I can tell you, patriarchal mindsets are going to be changed pretty fast when young women are asserting themselves and governments put into place security measures to ensure that they can do that. Secondly, if the prevention of crime, part of it at least, an important factor is deterrence and punishment.
Okay, that's an important point. KTS, you see, there is also, of course, the larger point of biting off too much one can chew. That's what a lot of people have said. There are a lot of suggestions today. 3 have come, which seem to be very pointed suggestions, which seem to suggest that we are building towards a constructive conclusion. The first one was performance audit at various levels so that there's accountability. Moral code must be evolved to clamp down on sexist mindsets, etc., to make the system more transparent and open. And most importantly, online registration of sexual molestation and other cases of crimes against women, because that will engender an obligation on part of the authorities to actually prosecute and deliver justice. Very, very important suggestions. KTS Tulsi, in your opinion, we're still looking at one of those deterrents that will make a potential rapist think twice about stepping out there and committing a crime. What could that be? What could that be?
That one thing is induction of technology in the process of investigation. All telephone calls to the police stations should be recorded. There will be no tampering with FIRs thereafter. All statements of witnesses should be video recorded. There should be tamper-proof technology provided in every police station in the country where the statements of witnesses are recorded and they cannot be tampered with. India is no longer a third world country. We are an IT superpower. Number 3, every police station in the country should be provided with forensic mobile van. And if you have a forensic mobile van, you can check out the fingerprints on the spot. You can analyze the blood samples that are available on the spot.
Now, technological intervention, very important points, Mr. KTS, to interrupt you, because what we are seeing right now is unprecedented.
Just one moment.
Yes, I'll come back to you. I'm just coming back to you. We're getting visuals. We're getting visuals of a massive demonstration in Mumbai. In a suburb of Mumbai, you can see several hundred 100 protesters being led by the leading lights of Bollywood. We can see some of these individuals standing there leading this protest. It's the zero tolerance from violence against women protest which is being pushed and led by a large number of leading lights of Bollywood. Let's just listen in for a few seconds.
ये बड़ा गंभीरतापूर्ण व्यवहार है, इसको बहुत आसानी से नहीं छोड़ा जाना चाहिए और आम बलात्कार के केसेस की तरह बढ़ाया जाना नहीं चाहिए। शबाना जी का आग्रह है, मैं एक अपनी कविता पढ़ूं, बाबुल जिया मोरा घटाए वो ताकि मैं गुनगुनाकर पढ़ूं, मैं वही करूंगा। गलती की शादी हो रही है, अधिकार से कहती है
being made. But Bollywood coming out and leading the charge. Once again the refrain is that make such watertight laws that people think twice about projecting violence against women or doing anything that would sully the dignity of women. Soli Sorabji, let me come back to you. There is an overwhelming majority of people demanding a deterrent. Some have even come out and said a death penalty for rapists would be the order. What could be the legal argument, in your opinion, whether it's against or for such a provision under the law?
Legal argument against such a deterrent?
I have my own views on death penalty. Now if you, in this case for example, the accused have been charged with murder, so death penalty is there. But a different matter, different case.
Yes.
Death penalty, castration, these are punishments. When are they imposed? After the conclusion of the trial. Now if the trial goes on for a long time, 7 years, 10 years, and then you impose the penalty, that won't be such a deterrent to the potential rapist. He'll feel कि देख लेगा, 7-8 साल के witnesses नहीं होगा, then we'll see what will happen. Maybe many of the rare cases, death penalty may not be imposed. So I think, besides, instead of going into all those questions of penalty at this stage, concentrate on removing the basic causes. And that's what I said, the mindset must be changed. There must be more sensitivity.
Yes.
In effective enforcement of the law as it is.
Very important. Very important. So we are back from where we started. Perhaps in this particular show, we should leave it at that. 4 big points have been made. 4 big points that would fit in for an agenda for change. Let's hope that our legislators were listening on, because this panel is perhaps the most experienced across the television industry, across the intellectual spectrum. These voices speak from experience, these voices speak from years of studying the issue, and therefore their suggestions cannot be brushed away as impracticable. Thanks indeed, Kiran Bedi, for joining us, Ranjana Kumari, Brinda Karat, KTS Tulsi and Soli Sorabji. What we are going to do now for a few moments is to cut across live to some of these protesters who are speaking. Let's listen in.
सिर्फ इसलिए होता है, सिर्फ इसलिए होता है। काश ऐसा हो, काश हमारी ये बातें, मैं बहुत ज्यादा इस बात से मुतासिर हूँ कि शबाना जी ने आज मुझे सुबह फोन किया और उनके इस एक फोन की वजह से शाबाश है हमारे इस बॉम्बे के शहर को, शाबाश है हमारी इस थिएटर कम्युनिटी को कि हम सब एक आवाज पे इकट्ठे हुए। अब इस आवाज को हम लोग दबने न दें और जरूर इस बात की कोशिश करें कि आइंदा कम से कम हमारे मुल्क में ऐसी चीजें ना हो।
थैंक यू। हम देख रहे हैं कि बलबीर सिंह हमारे साथ हैं, इनकी आंखों में आंसू हैं, ये बार बार मुझसे कह रहे हैं कि